Review polynomial. How many terms in a polynomial? In a polynomial, what? Yeah, there's a lot of terms in a polynomial. Okay, polynomial, remember, meant many. And we're multiplying that by a monomial. How many terms in a monomial? One. So basically what we're doing is we're taking something here. This is a polynomial right here. And we're multiplying it by a monomial, a single term. So that's what our problems are going to be looking like today. And so all we need to do here is we need to distribute that negative 3x squared to each of these three terms. Okay, that's all you're doing. You're distributing to each of the three terms. So on this first one, I'm going to go ahead and write out every possible step. But is this something where you will have to write out every step? And the answer is no, because you're going to end up finding out that there's a lot shorter way to do that. So basically what I did is I took every term in the polynomial and I multiplied it by the negative 3x squared. So now we're going to simplify that. First thing I'm going to do is look at this first term. I've got a negative 3 times a positive 7, which is a what? Negative 21. I have an x squared and an x squared, which gives me x to what power? To the fourth. Okay. Now here I have minus a negative 3, so I'm going to change that to plus a positive. I have 3, I don't have another number times it, so it's just going to be 3. I have x squared times x. How many x's do you have? 3, good. And then last but not least here I have negative 4 times positive 4. Or negative 4, negative 3 times positive 4, sorry, which is negative 12. And then I have an x squared, very good. And that's it. Okay, let's look at another one of those. So on this one I have negative 6d cubed and then parentheses 3d to the fourth minus 2d cubed minus d plus 9. And then I'm going to go ahead and have my right parentheses. So let's distribute. Now on this one I'm not going to write out every step. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to squeak that. But I'm just going to go ahead and look at this. I've got negative 6 times positive 3, which is what? Negative 18. I have d cubed times d to the fourth, which is what? D to the seventh. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing with the second term. In this case I'm going to take negative 6 times negative 2, which is positive 12. And then I'm going to take d cubed times d cubed, which is d to what power? The sixth. And then I'm going to take negative 6 times negative 1. There's a negative 1 there. So what is negative 6 times negative 1? 6. Positive 6. And then I'm going to take d cubed times d, which is d to the fourth. And then last but not least, I'm going to take negative 6 times 9, which is what? 54. And then I'm going to take d cubed times nothing, which is just d cubed. And that'll be your final answer. Yeah. We did when we multiplied them. We have a negative times a negative, which gave me a positive. Okay. All right. So now we're going to look at something that's a little more in-depth. And I'm going to let you go ahead and look at that next slide. And you'll see what I mean. So 2p times negative 4p squared plus 5p minus 5 times 2p squared plus 20. So now what I need to do is I'm going to distribute the 2p to each of these two terms first. So let's start. If I distribute 2p to negative 4p squared, what do you get? Negative 8p cubed. Nice job. Let's do that to the 5p. What do you get to the 5p? 10p to the second. Good job. So then now I'm going to do the same thing with the negative 5. I'm going to take negative 5 to each of those terms. So what is the negative 5 times 2p squared? Negative 10p squared. Very good. And then negative 5 times your 20. Negative 100. My final step now is going to be to add any like terms that I have. Do I have any like terms? I have this term here and this term here. So I first of all got my negative 8p cubed. What happens to your 10p squareds? They cancel because you have a positive 10, negative 10. And then you have your minus 100. And there you go. Questions? Let's try another one of those. Okay, this one's a little more in depth because notice it's actually got two variables as opposed to just one. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by distributing the 15t. So first of all, if I distribute that 15t to the first term, best rule of thumb, take it slow. So let's just start with the 15 and the 10. What does the 15 and the 10 give me? 150. Next, let's look at the t's. How many t's do I have? 6. And how many y's? Okay, so see how that works? Break it down, just look at them individually. So 15 and 5 now, what does that give me? 15 times 5 is? 75. Nice job. Let's combine how many t's we have. 2. And then how many y's? 2. So now let's distribute a negative 2y to each of these terms. So let's first of all start with the negative 2. Okay? The number here in front is like a 1. So really it's a negative 2 times a 1, which is a negative 2. How many y's do I have? 2. How many t's? 2. So now let's distribute the negative 2 to the positive 4. What do you get? Negative 8. How many y's? How many t's? Good. Like terms, do I have any? Yep. What's a term that's like with this one? Negative 2y squared t squared. Okay, you're probably like, well, they don't look the same. Well, really they are. They have the same variables. They have a t squared and a y squared, and that's it. So first of all, my first term stays 150 t to the 6th y cubed. My next term becomes and it doesn't matter how you write this one. If you want to write the t first or the y first, it doesn't matter. And then my last term is negative 8y cubed. Now, real quick, I can't combine the 150 and the negative 8 because the negative 8 doesn't have a t to the 6th power. Okay, the only way you can combine is if all the variables are exactly the same. Questions? We have 2 more problems to go. And these are some equations. Okay, now this one will take a little bit, so I'll let you write it down. So the first thing you're going to do is you've got to distribute. And I've got a couple places to distribute. Here's my first place to distribute. So when I distribute, what do I get? 2x squared plus 8x. And then I still have my 7 equals. Now the x plus 8 in parentheses, there's nothing times it. So I'm just going to go ahead and take those parentheses off, x plus 8. Okay, you can do that. And then let's distribute this 2x here. When I distribute that 2x there, what do I get? Plus 2x. Okay. So on the left side, do you have any like terms on the left side? No. So I'm just going to leave it for right now as 2x squared plus 8x plus 7. On the right side, let's look for some like terms. First of all, what's my highest power going to be? Yep, 2 is the highest power, my 2x squared. So I'm going to write that first. Do you have any like terms that you can combine? 8, 12. Yep, 8 and 12. And then what else can you combine? The 2x and the 1x gives you how many x? 3x. And then you have the 8 and the 12, which gives you 20. So now I need to solve that equation. And this is the thing. Right now, you should notice that you each have a 2x squared on either side, right? That should be the case every time. We don't know how to solve these problems yet. So you should be able to go ahead and get rid of the x squared term every time. So if you don't get rid of the x squared term, you've probably done something wrong. So then now this is a basic equation. Let's start. We're going to subtract 3x from both sides. So I end up getting 5x plus 7 equals 20. Yep, subtract 7. So I get 5x to equal 13. What do you do now? Divide by 5. So x equals 13 over 5. Can you reduce that down? Nope, so you leave it alone. Okay, we're going to look at one more like that, and then we'll call it good for today. Oh, let's go back. So we have d times d plus 3 minus d times d minus 4 equals 9d minus 16. Okay, so let's go ahead and distribute the d's. What do you get from the first one?
D squared.
D squared plus what?
3D.
3d. Okay, what do I get from my next one?
Negative D squared.
Negative d squared
Plus
4d. So on the left side, can we combine some like terms?
D squared.
What happens to the d squareds?
Cancel.
They cancel. So those are gone.
3D.
And then you have 3d and 4d, which gives you how many d? 7d equals 9d minus 16. So I'm going to go ahead and move the 9d over. So let's subtract 9d. And I get negative 2d equals, okay, what do you do now? Divide by negative 2. So what does d equal? 8. Nice job. What do you think? Not too bad? Okay, your assignment then on page 475, 18 through 40, the evens. Okay, 18 through 40, the evens.